NDSU. My name is Henry.
And my name is Mackenzie.
And welcome back to another episode of Bison Information Network News. Stick around for campus, local, and national news stories.
Last Wednesday, student government hosted an edible cinema event. At the event, the movie High on the Hog was screened. This movie explores the extensive influence that African culture has had on American cuisine. The movie dove into the history and flavors that have made American food what it is today. This was followed by an amazing free meal of wonderful traditional food. Here's a closer look. Last Wednesday, an edible cinema event was hosted by Student Government's Access and Opportunity Commission. The event centered on a screening of Food for the Journey, an episode which is part of a documentary series on Netflix titled High on the Hog: How African American Cuisine Transformed America. Before the episode began, two important campus organizations were given a chance to promote their campus clubs, one of which was the Black Student Association. The president stated they meet every Thursday at 8 p.m. and anyone can attend regardless of race, as long as you come being respectful. Then the president of the African Student Union was able to speak, saying that their club focuses on promoting African cultures and celebrating cultural diversity of African origin, and it is also open to everyone. After this introduction, the movie played and dove into the deep history of African influence on American food. Once the episode began, the moviegoers were able to eat a meal that resembled exactly what they were seeing on screen. And this seemed to be a hit amongst all of the viewers.
My favorite part is honestly the food, but I think that was the point, but super good.
I will also say the food. It was pretty flavorful. It was good. It was nice just experiencing the history while also being able to indulge.
Honestly, I'm probably going to end up trying to make the chicken. It was pretty good. And I helped out with prepping some of it. And so seeing how it was marinated and seasoned was actually pretty neat.
Participants shared what they found to be the most interesting takeaways from this experience.
I learned a lot about the cultural significance of the food that they served, as well as the deep roots that it had.
In my opinion, probably just the big role that food plays within the African American community. Like, you don't really think about it at the time, but it is a super huge part, the main part, I would say. Yeah.
You don't really think about the history and how these dishes are similar when it comes to African cuisine and then African American cuisine as well, how they all play a part in hand.
Probably in the documentary when they were talking about the trains with the shoebox meals and the porter pullers was pretty neat. My family is from Kenya, so like it isn't really my history, but it's like actually really neat to learn. Like just seeing how different other black people that also were from Africa ended up living life so differently.
Lastly, we had the opportunity to speak with Sarah Cruz, an organizer of this event.
I feel like events like this should happen on campus a lot more, actually, because I feel like it gives us a sense of community and belonging, as well as it kind of helps educate us a little bit more about understanding people who we might not quite understand.
That's all from the Edible Cinema. Signing off, Mackenzie Stockwell.
This Wednesday is Strikeout Hunger in the Thundar's Den. What is Strikeout Hunger, you may ask? Every Wednesday from 7 to 10, Thundar's Den hosts a donation night. Spare 2 non-perishable food items per person and get 1 free hour of bowling. A great example of what not to bring is a turkey. It isn't just an amazing bowling technique, it is also a great example of a perishable food item and is sure to leave you in the gutter. Things like canned goods, anything preserved, or things able to be stored in room temperature locations will be gladly accepted. Once again, Strikeout Hunger is this Wednesday from 7 to 10 p.m. in Thundar's Den in the Memorial Union.
If you are looking for new opportunities to work in journalism, content creation, or editing, you may want to consider working right here at BIN. We are currently hiring anyone seeking to advance their college journalism career. We are hiring with a starting rate of $15 per hour. For more information, email generalmanager@ndsubin.com.
Next week is spring break. Make sure to keep an eye on Bison Information Network's Instagram page to see what BIM members are up to and what vacations we're going on. And if you want your spring break to be featured on our page, shoot us a DM on Instagram. We'll be happy to put it up. In local news, North Dakota legislature recently passed and denied a number of bills while in session recently. A few bills that were passed were as follows. House Bill 1535, was creating a feather alert notice system similar to the federal Amber Alert emergency missing persons broadcast program, but tailored to the needs of North Dakota's 5 tribal nations. House Bill 1477 and 1488 protected fertility treatments such as IVF and contraceptives. And House Bill 1496 stipulating landlord obligations owed to tenant, specifically in regards to heat. Some of the denied bills were House Concurrent Resolution 3020, which urged North Dakota to acknowledge the kingship of Jesus Christ. House Bill 1585, which would require law enforcement officials to report undocumented immigrants to United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And finally, Senate Bill 2193 would revise requirements for emotional support animals. These were some of the bills that were passed and denied.
There are multiple lawsuits involving U.S. passports, including a lawsuit over the Trump-era policy and a lawsuit over passport fees. Following an executive order from President Donald Trump, 7 people have filed a federal lawsuit challenging the State Department's refusal to issue passports with accurate sex designations. The lawsuit asserts that this policy violates the First Amendment's protection against being required to convey governmental ideological messages they disagree with. The State Department's actions violate people's rights under the Due Process Clause of the U.S. Constitution. They do this by unlawfully restricting their freedom of movement, as well as their rights under the Equal Protection Clause by unjustifiably discriminating against them on the bias of sex. Reed Solomon Lane of North Adams, Massachusetts, is quoted saying, "I thought that 18 years after transitioning, I would be able to live my life in safety and ease. Now, as a married father of 3, Trump's executive order and the ensuing passport policy have threatened that life of safety and ease. If my passport were to reflect a sex designation that is inconsistent with who I am, I would be forcibly outed every time I used my passport for travel or identification, causing potential risk to my safety and my family's safety." More updates to follow. The largest cut in Medicaid was approved last week by U.S. House Representatives. The House Budget Committee voted for at least $880 billion in mandatory spending cuts on programs overseen by the House Energy and Commerce Committee. This is going to heavily impact Medicaid and ultimately cause many Americans to struggle with health care. According to NPR, 79 million people are enrolled in Medicaid and its related children's health insurance program. The vote was extremely close, with 217 representatives supporting the cut and 215 representatives opposed. Every Democrat in the House of Representatives voted against the budget cut, and 1 Republican joined their votes against this proposal. This budget cut will ultimately affect almost a quarter of the American population.
Tonight marks the Academy Awards. Make sure to strap in and watch some of the best best critically acclaimed movies as they take center stage tonight. Nominees for Best Actress include Cynthia Erivo from Wicked, Carly Sofia Gascon from Emilia Perez, Mikey Madison from Minora, Demi Moore from The Substance, and Fernanda Torres from I'm Still Here. Nominees for Best Actor are Adrian Brody from The Brutalist, Timothy Chalamet from A Complete Unknown, Coleman Domingo from Sing Sing, Ralph Fiennes from Conclave, and Sebastian Stan from The Apprentice. For animated film nominees are Flow, Inside Out 2, Memoir of a Snail, Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance, Most Foul, and finally, The Wild Robot. And finally, the Best Picture nominees are Anora, The Brutalist, A Complete Unknown, Conclave, Dune Part 2, Emilia Perez, I'm Still Here, Nickel Boys, The Substance, and Wicked. We can't wait to see which of your favorite films this year takes the spot of the best film of 2024. And in our final news, we go to international. The Pope has been in an unstable health condition over the past week. The Catholic Church head has recently battled bronchitis and is being treated currently for double pneumonia. And a health update 2 weeks ago showed that he also was showing signs of mild renal insufficiency. This has left him in critical condition. His health has been fluctuating between improving, stable, and worsening within the past week. Well, that is all the news for this week. Stick around after the break for weather with Percy and sports with Shania.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today, so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
My name is Becky Parker, and I'm a news anchor at WDAY-TV. I graduated from NDSU in 2010 with a degree in journalism, broadcasting, and mass communication technologies, and then I had an emphasis on broadcasting. Principles of broadcast production and advanced broadcast production. Those were favorites because they were the most relevant for career experience. You're calling people for interviews, you're writing an article. It doesn't just feel like an assignment, it's like actually doing it. I was the news director for the first full semester of the Bison Information Network. The BIN advisor here was very much invested in me to actually have a career in broadcasting. He helped me get my internship and my first job. The people in NDSU's Department of Communication are really interested and helpful in getting students the connections that they need in order to get a job beyond school.
The NDSU Bookstore, where every true fan and alum goes to get their pride on. Gear up with a variety of high-quality t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more. Made by top-of-the-line brands like Under Armour, Nike, and CI Sport to help you show off your Bison pride. The NDSU Bookstore has everything you need in your 2 favorite colors, green and gold.
30 minutes over a cup of coffee. Queen to H5 at the park. Thumbs up emojis, clapping emojis, confetti emojis. Loaded nachos at halftime. A spin dash for the win. Best 2 out of 3. And the time it takes to enjoy a slice or 2, you can make a difference. Because yeah, mentorship sounds huge, but the truth is, it takes little to be big.
Hello, my name is Percy Johnson, and here is the weather for this beautiful March 2nd morning. All right, as you can see here, we have a high of 46 and a low of 30. Precip is 10%, humidity is 14%, and wind is 10 miles an hour. Now looking further on to this week's weather, we have a Monday, a high of 52, a low of 32. Tuesday is cloudy with a high of 40, a low of 23. Wednesday, partially cloudy with a high of 33 and a low of 21. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday are all slightly cloudy with a high of 38-20 on Thursday. Friday is a 35-18, and finally Saturday is a 35-20. Now moving on to the national weather, we have Seattle at 53, Caribou at 18, Tampa at 76, and of course Minot 48, International Falls is 36, and finally Minneapolis is 44. I hope you all have such a wonderful day and a wonderful week. It's going to be a fantastically beautiful week. And that is Percy Johnson with the weather.
Good evening. Welcome back to your Bison Sports Report. My name is Shania, bringing you the latest in Bison athletics. Starting off with track and field, men and women's track and field finished up the regular season at the UND tune-up this past Friday. Gerard White took first place in the men's pole vault, and freshman Jonah Defoe took third in the 800-meter, all while clocking a personal best of 1:53.30. For the ladies, Sydney Arndt took first in the 60-meter hurdles with the time of 8:32, while NDSU's Joyce Nanta also placed first in the women's triple jump, recording 11.93 meters. Bison Track and Field will be back in action for the Summit League Indoor Championships down in South Dakota this weekend, where they look to secure another team title. Moving on to college hoops, we are at the end of the road in terms of the regular season, and Bison basketball is gearing up for playoffs. Men's basketball went up against South Dakota last week at home for an 82-78 victory. Mason Miller put up the first 3 points beyond the arc for the Bison, and despite multiple lead changes throughout the first half, NDSU led the Coyotes 41-37 by halftime. That bled over into a steady and consistent third quarter lead for the Bison as well. By the time the final minutes rolled around, it was once again a continuous rally of lead changes and three-pointers as South Dakota tried to keep pace with NDSU, but ultimately fell 4 points short of the win. Jakari White led the Bison with a solid 20 points, followed by 19 points and a season high from Tajavis Miller. Sophomore Derek Dissett also contributed to the victory, recording a 19-point, 13-rebound double-double performance for NDSU. South Dakota will get their rematch sooner than later as they take on the Bison again this Friday in Sioux Falls. And to close off our Bison Sports Report is women's basketball. The Lady Bison were unable to prevail in their matchup against Oral Roberts this past Saturday and suffered a hard 84-100-point loss. Early on in the game, the usually dominant Bison suffered from turnovers, missed layups, and were outscored by the Golden Eagles throughout the game. Despite the loss, NDSU played hard with multiple players putting up double digits in scoring. Avery Coonan led the Bison with a double-double of 20 points and 12 rebounds, making it her seventh of the season, while Molly Lenz and Claire Stern recorded 16 points apiece for NDSU. The ladies are back on the court this Saturday at home against Omaha, where tip-off is set for 1 p.m. That just about concludes our show for tonight. We do want to thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, I'm Shania LaRue, signing off from Bison Information Network, and we hope to see you guys back next week.